Hello everyone, Penny here from That's Just Penny. Today I'm introducing Grandma's Sewing Box Needle Folio. It is a folio to keep all of your little needles in. All the links will be down below where you can get your very own copy for you to print, cut, and create with. This is page 1A0, and then you have 1B0, and then you have 1C0, and I will have the instructions on the sheets for you, but I wanted to go over what it looked like and how to put this together. So you do have the diagrams at the bottom of the pages, and it does say to see this video for further details. This is the folio part, and I have printed 1B0 on the back of all of my sheets. This is just a background sheet that I printed over. I printed on 100-pound cardstock. I print one side and then flip it over and print on the other side, because with the templates, it's best that you print as is and do not print double-sided. Just print single-sided. I know that is a pain for you to have to go back in, with the printer, but it's best because of the way that the templates are made. It's best to print the templates as is and then print the background paper on the back as borderless if you're able to do that. No worries if you're not. So the instructions are on each sheet. This is a little folio for you to keep your needles in, and it was inspired by the kits that are coming up and the devotional of Grandma's Sewing Box. The first step is to make sure that you print the folio out as one big piece. Do not print there. That is to fold vertical lines. You see the spine, that is to actually stay together. So this is one big piece. Do not cut out the separate images. You cut it as one big piece. Okay, we will fold where indicated and we will cut where indicated. You're only going to cut from the bottom of the pocket to the middle. That's the only place that you're going to cut, but you are going to fold the rest of the lines. I will show you in upcoming in this video about how to fold and cut. Don't worry, the diagram is there to assist you. Now let's move on to the needle strips. These are the little holders for your needles. There are 4 for a reason. You cut them out individually. Please leave the glue tabs on. There is an extra little line over there on the left. Don't worry about that. Just miter the corners as it is shown. However, I will take note that we will be shortening 2 of these needle strips later on in the video. However, if you noticed, I did print AC0 or ACO, either one you want to say, on the back, which is the background page of all of the sheets. I also included a digital scan of my grandmother's actual vintage little needle holders. So this is an actual piece ephemera. It is, vintage. It's over 20 years old. So I did include that in there for you all as well, along with some thread spool keepers and a image to embellish the cover or the front of our little needle folder. Let's begin. You're going to need scissors. You're going to need glue. And you're going to need a scoring tool, a ruler. You can use the glue of your choice. I'm going to use Eileen's Tacky Glue. Now, with That's Just Penny's printables, if on the templates, if you cut out a piece and you leave the black lines, you need to do that for all the pieces. Okay, so they will fit together. So with this sheet, I'm going to leave the black line because I have the black lines in the middle there. Now, you can use this template to make your own later on. This is just what I created to show you about how to make a needle folder folio, right? So this piece, again, I'm cutting it all the way around as one single piece. Okay? I am not cutting each individual square out. I am cutting it as one individual piece. I am also leaving the words that says needle folder folio. That will be on later on. It'll go on the top cover. I'm going to call it cover. The top piece for our little needle holder. So again, I'm only going to cut it out as a single piece. Okay, and then I'm going to continue to look at my little diagram. Now, for the bottom of the pocket, I'm going to actually cut this piece. As you can see me here, I'm only going to cut up to that line right there, and that is it. Later on, I will cut out the rest of that little spine in there. You will see that later on. But for this point, right now, I decided to only cut, like the diagram says, all the way up to that line. Okay, so now I'm going to score that line and fold it. That becomes our little folio piece where we're going to put some of our little needle strip holders, right? So bear with me as you see me go through the process. This I'm going to leave alone. I'm only going to fold it, and I will show you here about folding. Make sure that your lines, you can use a scoreboard and things like that. If you're wondering what that is in the middle, I fold this in the middle vertically like so. There is a spine in there. Okay, that's why those two black lines are there. It is a spine, so you're only going to have, I don't know, it's really tiny amount of spine in there, like 1/8 of an inch or whatever it is. So you're going to have a spine, so that leaves room for the needles to be in their little spots. I am going to use a distressing tool to distress all the way around this with brown vintage. As you can see right here, I'm showing you about the spine and making sure that I have those creases folded and to make sure that I have that. Now here's where, like I said earlier, that I go ahead and cut that rest of that little space spine needed. I don't need that bottom spine, so I'm going to cut that off. Now that is according to the little, the little diagram that I've got for you, but this is a spine. So I'm just going to try my best to go in there, and I don't have my score. I'm just going to fold it really quickly. But you can score it with a scoring tool or whatever. But I want to make sure that I have that little spine. So here let's begin with our needle holder strips. And I have four for a reason. At the beginning, I was not going to use them, all four of them, but I'm referring to my diagram, and I'm going to cut all four of these out. If you left the black lines on the base, on the folio, you will need the black lines on this. You can use black distress ink to add, to distress the edges, and then go back in with brown vintage or whatever of your choice. I just chose to go ahead and distress it with the brown vintage one. And you see me cutting out. Do not cut those tabs off. You're going to need that. There is a little extra line there. Don't worry about that. Just whack that off. It's just in the mitering. It's just in just the way that it was designed. I could not get that little bit out. Fold down the glue tabs and glue them in over to where the little chart, the little diagram that I gave you indicated where to glue them in at. So on the base, I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to double check my little diagram to see where they go. It is marked in red on the little diagram itself. I'm just double checking here to make sure. And I'm going to glue them in. I'm going to use Eileen's tacky glue. I'm going to make sure it fits first. It's called a dry fit. I'm going to make sure that I have a dry fit that's really good if I need to trim or whatever, because everyone's printer, of course, does not print the same way. I'm going to distress it and then, to dry fit it to make sure that it fits before I absolutely glue it down. Now I'm just kind of bending it to make it more pliable, I'm just kind of bending it down. Now I'm going to grab my needle and I am going to poke hole. Now you can measure and put your 3 holes in all the way across if you want to. I'm just going to stick my needles in. You can make it all fancy and measure and put all your little poke holes all the way through for your needles or whatever. I am just going to poke the needle through. Some needle holders back in the vintage days only had, they had like 3 holes, some had 4 and things like that. But I'm just going to do 2 holes just to stick my needle in and make sure that I have enough at the top to grab my needle. So I don't have a whole lot of needles right now to fill all this up with, but I just wanted to show you what it would look like with a needle in there. So I'm going to use Eileen's tacky glue to glue these tabs, these little needle strips down. I'm going to make sure that I have a good glue, and I'm going to make sure that it will fit. And I'm kind of making it go toward the right, and not over there on the left where the fold is, where I'm going to fold up. I'm kind of making sure that I keep it toward the right, and make sure that it's kind of, in the center and level. As you can see, I'm leaving a little bit of lip there, and I'm kind of like pushing it up a little bit. It's not totally flat. The little needle strip is not totally flat down because I want that room in order to insert more needles. So I'm just kind of puffing it up, making sure that there's room enough to add more needles in the future. Make sure it's dry really well. I'm just checking to see how well it's going to close, because remember, we have that spine over there. So I'm going to continue the process, but for the top one and the side ones I'm going to use as portrait, portrait size, and the right ones are landscape. The little needle strips are going to be landscape on the right and portrait on the left. I hope that makes sense. I will show you here in just a bit. Okay, I've got 2 needle strips down, and now I'm going to cut the other 2 strips out, but these are the ones that's going to be portrait, and they're going to be smaller. So I'm just going to measure these and cut them down, but leave enough for a glue tab, right? When I measure, I'm going to leave enough space for a glue tab so they can cut the glue tab out and, glue them down. So here you can see me measuring these and making sure that I'll have a glue tab. Here I have decided to use these thread spools. I'm going to be cutting these out, and I'm going to be using all 3 of these. And I will show you the process of cutting them out, winding some thread on them, and placing them in our little folio. Okay, so I've got some of these little thread spool keepers cut out, and then I'm going to take a needle and poke a hole into the little needle image up there, because I want to make sure that I put my thread through there so that it will keep it nice and secure. So I'm going to poke a hole where that needle is on the image, so that I can make sure there are a really thin, it's just sewing thread that I've got wrapped around there. It's a cream color, so it may be hard to see, but I'm going to just make sure that I secure that thread by poking it through the top there. Now that I have it distressed and ready to put on in my folio, I'm just trying to look and see where I want it and where it needs to fit and things like that. So I have decided to see about, I haven't put down, that extra needle strip yet, but I decided to put it up here, and I'm actually going to put 2 there. So when I glue this down, I am actually only going to glue the top and bottom. The bottom, of course, where that, the curves are. The top, I'm only going to do just a little bit. I'm leaving the needle there that's poking up, I'm leaving that unglued because I need to be able to stick my thread through. So this is the only one that I pre-thread. So I'm going to add another one, and then on the back I'm going to add another spool, and you will see that coming up soon. Here I am cutting out that element, and I am putting the string underneath the cover element so that I can have a wrap. Here I'm cutting out that bits, those words that says needle folder folio, and I am distressing it and putting it in the second little layer there so that you can actually see, poke it through so you can actually see on the front cover. Then I'm going to retie this string. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is what it looks like, the finished product. I hope you go check out the links down below where you can print, cut, and create your very own needle folder folio.